You are listening to High Heels and High Chairs, voted the best online resource for busy moms who wish to stay strong, sexy, and centered in a world of spit up and sippy cups. Whether you're a new mom, a grandmom, a future mom, or somewhere in between, you'll love these priceless tips, tricks, and tools you will learn today. Here is your host, top female fat loss and hormone specialist, Dr. Michelle Sands.
Hey mamas, welcome back to High Heels and High Chairs, where we are talking about how to stay strong, sexy, and centered in a world of spit up and sippy cups. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Sands, and today I'm sitting down with a really cool lady. Desha Peacock is a author, a speaker, a retreat leader, and a design coach, a lifestyle design coach. She actually helps hundreds of people find what she calls their sweet spot in life. It's a self-defined space of success and beauty. Her first book was called Create the Style You Crave on a Budget You Can Afford, and it's been called the best book to buy for your girlfriend by the Huffington Post. She just loves beauty and culture. She travels through Africa, the Middle East, Europe, Asia, and Central America, and she's really just finds style and inspiration all over the world and helps women all over the world to find their own personal style. So today we're actually talking about how to create a space either within your home or your office where you can just really feel at ease, you can focus, you can feel happy, and just how your style can evoke emotions. So Desha, thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited to talk to you today.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm excited too.
Awesome. So for the audience listening, can you tell us a little bit about maybe what brought you into this field or this specialty of finding your sweet spot? I mean, you tell us a little bit about what a sweet spot is and how you got interested in it, whether you were always interested in fashion and style or if it's something that you developed later.
Well, I think that's something that's always been on my mind since I was young was sort of like, what am I here for? You know, what is my purpose in life? And I knew that I wanted to do something creative, but I couldn't really figure out how to do something creative and make money because I didn't really have that role model in my life. You know, my family, they weren't, you know, they were teachers and salespeople, but they weren't necessarily like artists or you know, entrepreneurs in that way. So I struggled with that for many years, and I also just had this desire to live in a beautiful place, you know, because I didn't necessarily grow up in a beautiful place. And so my mom and I would go in the historic neighborhoods. I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas, and we'd drive around, and we'd see these beautiful historic homes, and I would just wonder, like, who lives in these homes, and, you know, what's their story, and what do they do for work, and what do they do for fun, and how can I do that, you know? And so I think it's just like to sum up the Sweet Spot style, that's the name of my brand. It's really for me doing creative work that I love and also being surrounded by beauty. And being surrounded by beauty in my home, you know, through my clothes that I choose to wear, through, you know, my career, through international travel. And, yeah, I think that's pretty much what it is.
Awesome. So for moms listening who maybe they don't have the time or they don't think that they have the time to, let's say, decorate or put together stuff, or maybe they're not very style conscious. You know, like myself, I was a tomboy growing up, and I may not be able to match my clothes better than my son. So for people like us who are challenged in this style area, like how do you help them? Like how do you help them to find their style and express their creativity?
Well, that's a great question, and I always say that I'm not a style dictator. You know, I'm not the kind of person who comes into your home and is like, okay, this is what you need to do, and lay it all out for you. You know, it's more about like, well, what makes you feel good? You know, what do you notice inspires you? Where do you walk into a space or put something on and feel really good and feel like yourself? You know, so it's like when somebody comes to my house that I've known who hasn't seen my house before and they say, oh, your house really looks like you. You know, to me, that's the highest compliment. So, you know, it's not about copying someone else's style. It's about looking at other styles and seeing where you feel inspired and like, yeah, I like that, you know. Or, just creating basically that's how I would recommend, figuring out what your style is. If you don't know your style, I guess there's two questions, right? Like, what do you do if you don't know your style, and what if you do if you don't have time? So the first
right.
is, like, if you don't really know what your style is, I would say just start looking around and gathering, images and putting them either online, like, I'm a big fan of Pinterest, and you can make boards, like boards for your office or boards for your nursery or, boards for your exterior of your home, whatever, living room. Or if you like magazines and you don't want to be online, which I certainly have enough of online because I have an online business. So I have a vision book. I call it the vision book. And inside of it, there are ideas for my business, ideas for my dreams, ideas for my home and my clothes. And so when I get magazines that I really like, even catalogs, I like the store Anthropology. So when an Anthropology catalog comes around, or a Terrain, which is the branch of Anthropology that's like house plants and stuff, I'll cut up the images that I really love. And sometimes I'll just put them in a little pile or a folder. But if I have time, I'll just write them. I'll go ahead and just glue them into my notebook, vision book, and I'll write a little bit or not. And just have it. And then I'll flip through it and think about, okay, how can I incorporate that into my home or my personal style? So sometimes I'll just cut out a dress that I like, and then later on I might go on and kind of see if it's on sale. And maybe I get that exact dress on sale, or maybe I find something similar to it in a different store that still gives me the same feeling but has the same look. And so I think the more that you look, the more your eye becomes accustomed to what you like, for sure. Because as I have gathered, researched information for the book that I've written and the book that I'm writing now, my style has changed because I'm really looking a lot. So I'm like, oh yeah, I like this aesthetic more than I like, the other aesthetic. So your taste can sort of evolve as you see what's out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Now, do we have to worry about whether things go together? Because sometimes I like shiny objects, and then sometimes I like things that are maybe sporty or more natural. So do we have to worry that, like, are things that we like are too diverse or that don't go together? Or are there any rules?
I think there are. The only rule is that you like it. That is the only rule. If you like it and you like the way it all looks together, then congratulations, you have your own personal style. There's nothing that doesn't go. In fact, I can't stand it when I go into a space that feels like, I hope you don't have any interior designers listening. Like if you go into a space and you're like, it's so pristine, it's so matchy, and all the pillows match the curtains, and it's like, it looks like you could have just walked into a store. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was totally
have any
me.
Personality.
That was totally me in my first house, because I was so afraid of getting it wrong that I would literally buy, the whole setup. Like, if I liked the couch, then guess what? Whatever coffee table, whatever rug, whatever little knickknacks, and whatever they had with it, that's what went into my home, because I was so fearful that I didn't trust my own thoughts. So I'm like, well, maybe it doesn't go together, or it'll look tacky, or whatever it may be. But you know what? You're right. I didn't feel like that feeling of peace or calm or creativity because it wasn't my choices. So I think that when you do that, you're not being creative, and you're not really letting you shine in. Because when they say there's no place like home, I think the reason why that's true is because it's yours and it's a reflection of yourself and what makes you happy. And so I think that's huge.
It is huge, and it's about personalizing your space. So, and that takes time. So that goes back to the second part of your question. People who feel like they don't have time. Well, of course, it's easier just to walk into a store and buy the set. That's faster, But it takes time to build up a home that's personal, and that has stuff that you're collecting things that have some kind of meaning to them. For sure you can buy things that are just beautiful. That's awesome. You can do that too. But mix it in with stuff that has meaning. So, maybe you're on vacation and you're in Nantucket or something, and you find some beautiful piece of art that reminds you of Nantucket, and that's so when you hang it up, you'll have that memory. You'll have that, when you look at it, you'll remember that good time. So that's the kind of thing, like maybe it's a piece of furniture that, a rocking chair that your grandmother used to rock your mom in or whatever, and that has special meaning. And, maybe you need to update it with some paint, but that kind of thing. So, and it does take time, so I just, want to encourage people, it doesn't have to be perfect all at once. In fact, it's probably not going to be. My house is completely in evolution. I've lived here for 8 years, and there's still tons of stuff that I want to do, but I have to wait until I find the right thing,
Mm-hmm. Right, because you don't want to, this is another obstacle people might come into, is then they start to have clutter, right? They start to collect all of these things. And then when you have clutter, then what happens when it comes to your thoughts and your sense of well-being?
Oh, well, clutter is basically like the number one thing that we have problems with as Americans. So when I was on book tour, I interviewed a lot of people, and I would ask them, like, what's your number one problem? And it was always clutter. It was always too much stuff. And to me, like, your physical surrounding, it is a creative expression of who you are. So if there's just too much stuff in your house or your office, then what's going to happen? Like, you're pretty much guaranteed there's going to be some brain fog going on for you, like mental clutter. So physical clutter to me just equals mental clutter, and we don't need any more mental clutter. So if we can, declutter our space, it's going to help us open up to more abundance of thoughts and more abundance of things that we truly do really treasure in our homes. The other thing about clutter is you can have a lot of really beautiful, amazing things, but nobody can really appreciate them because there's too much of them. So the best
too much
way,
stimulation.
Yeah, it's too much. The best way to showcase your treasures and the things you love is to take away some other stuff so those can be highlighted.
I love it. And for moms, that's so significant because we already feel like our life is so cluttered and there's so many things going on that we can't think straight. So I think like having your space, whether it's your home or your office or even your child's room, be that organized, but organize the things that you love. And I think that can really like spark a sense of well-being in the family.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's true. And people have different amounts of tolerance to handling clutter. And so if, it may be that you as the woman are the one who feels like everything needs to be tidy, or it could be that your husband feels like everything needs to be tidy, and probably not your child. Like your child is probably the one with the highest level of disregard for, how things are put away, right? And so that's also kind of like a really sensitive balance, especially when you have little ones between, the parents and the little one, because I always say that I like a tidy house, but what I value even more than a tidy house is a creative child. And creativity and perfectionism does not go well together. So whereas my husband really likes for there to be no dishes in the sink and no crumbs. Like when I was home with my daughter before she went to preschool, there would be paint supplies out and there would be paper everywhere and there'd just be stuff, and I could feel he could walk in and he would feel uncomfortable. Like,
That's my husband.
Oh my God!
My husband was a Marine, and so everything is in its place, right? And I have a 1-year-old, and when he comes home from work, I work from home, so the second half of the day is my time with my son, and there is stuff everywhere. There's toys everywhere. There's dishes in the sink. There's still like something on the stove from something I would have made for lunch. And it's just true because I really value my time with my son, and I know that I can just get it later. It's not that I want to always have the clutter, but there's a time for it and there's a time to put it away. But I think like what's incorporating into your ways to maybe be organized is something to make it easier for you to tidy up when it's time to tidy up. Do you incorporate like pieces that help organize or storage and things like that for people to make it easier?
Well,
is that something that you incorporate?
I think for sure there are some things that you can do. But I would say overall, if your kids are under 3, like, the best tip I can give you is just you're going to have to just chill out. Chill out. And, really, it's better for them to have free space to play and to create a mess. And if there's a mess, just know that it's temporary. So my daughter's 9 now, and I don't have that problem. But I remember that. I remember that time when, it was like stuff was everywhere and it seemed like you couldn't catch up. And just know that that is not forever. So it's okay if there's some mess. Now, here's the second tip around that. I would say, as your child is growing up, teach your child the really essential things for organizing. And so I have tried to teach my daughter this, and I think that it's working in a couple of different ways. So one, we have specific areas where her toys go, and it's not like the perfectly placed and curated shelf that you see on Pinterest, right? We have a couple of shelves in her room that are high enough to where I can, mess around with them, and they're, nice. It's not stuff she plays with. But the stuff that she actually plays with goes in a big chest because it's really easy for them to pick up something and throw it in a chest. So all of her stuffed animals, and, by category. So all of her stuffed animals are in a chest in the closet. That's where it goes. So because kids, they have a really hard time if you're just clean your room. That's overwhelming. They're like, okay, I'll just shove it under my bed. They don't understand.
Exactly.
You have to teach them the category. So it's like, okay, your shirts all go in this middle drawer, right? Always. Your pants, they always do. So even if you shove them in there and you're too little to fold them, at least you know where it goes. So once they know where it goes, when it's time to clean up, then they can clean it up. And the other thing is I taught my daughter from a very young age how to declutter her room. So, for example, we would go through her stuff as soon as she was basically old enough to talk, and I'd be like, keep pile and the giveaway pile. And she loves it. It's like a game. We pull out the dresser and put it on the floor. Is this a keep or giveaway? Explain what. Keep it only if it's this, if it looks good. And then the giveaway, then we take what's good and we take it down to the consignment shop, and she gets to put the bag on the counter, and then the woman hands over the money, and I'm like, daughter, goes to my daughter. So she gets to get the money. So that's a big incentive. Awesome. So when it's time to declutter, it's she's getting money.
I love that you're teaching them, positive reinforcement. That what you said that really, sunk in is that perfection is the opposite of creativity. So I love that because as moms, we try to be a super mom all the time, and we're trying to get it all done. But, what your child is going to remember is that you played that game with him. He's not going to remember that, every dish was spick and span, right? He's not going to remember that, my mom cleans all the dishes all the time. That's not what he wants. He wants you to play with him and to expand his mind and interact with him. So I think that's important. It's really important. So one last thing I want to ask you is, what is the importance of setting up different rooms in your house to have different feels, perhaps the bedroom to be more conducive to sleeping and a child's room to be more creative and stimulating? And so do you walk people through how to invoke different feelings in their spaces?
Oh, yeah, I think that's really important that you set it up so that you kind of look at each room and decide what the function of it is. So, if you have your child's bedroom, do you want to foster creativity and fun? Do you want to foster sleep? How big should the bed be for your child? In the beginning, I had a tiny little, IKEA bed, this cute little one bunk bed kind of thing, and then the rest of the space was the all floor for her to play in with a big rug, and then toys containers all around so she could play. Now she's 9, and so she's bigger, so she actually has this it's called a cuddle swing, and so we just put this hook in one of the beams in her room, and it can hold up to 80 pounds, and it's basically like what you see in circus schools, it's just stretchy fabric.
Wow.
And it's really cool, and she gets on it every day in the morning, at night, and she swings on it, and she does flips, and she climbs it. And so, we live in Vermont where it's not always the best just to go outside all the time, so she can get on that and she can be active. And, it's not pretty, but it doesn't matter. She loves it, and it's a cool thing. So just to be innovative of like, what do we need? Oh, like we need a space for her to climb. Okay, like where could we put this? Like we thought about putting it in the living room because that's where or like really the kitchen, because that's where she wants to be with me, right? Where am I?
Right.
The kitchen, yeah. But then I was like, okay, we got to compromise here. I don't want this hanging in the kitchen, so put it in her room.
But I love that if you said it's not beautiful and you're the style girl, right? And you still didn't refrain from getting it because it was the function that you're looking at. So it's function and its beauty have to have their mix, especially when you're raising children, right? Like sometimes it's not going to be the prettiest thing, but coming from the style girl, she did it in her house. So I think that's like an important thing to think about.
That's right. And just remember that everything changes. So you have to accommodate your kids at the age they're at. And, now my daughter has got her own style, and it's different from mine. And it bugs me. Mm. But, like, I don't want to, like, stomp on her style. I want to let that emerge in her. So she's got, like, teenage magazines, and she wants to put, like, cheap posters all over the wall, and it makes me cringe, But I'm like, okay, put another Ariana Grande poster on your wall. That would look great,
How funny. Yeah, I mean, it's important to let everybody foster, especially children, foster their own style and have their, style fails and learn from, they'll develop into their own beautiful style eventually.
Exactly. And in the meantime, I have the rest of the house, so it's okay. Okay.
Awesome. So you have a great book. It's called Create the Style You Crave. And I know for our listeners, you're offering the first chapter free, correct?
Yes, so I do have a free gift for your listeners, and it's the first chapter of my book, and it describes how this very strange story of how I was working in a job I did not like, living in an apartment, and was pregnant, and just really had this, very Oprah aha moment where I was like, no, I'm not going to raise my daughter in an apartment. I was raised in an apartment, so we got to figure this out. So the story is about how I used intention to manifest a home, stay home with my daughter when she was born, quit my job, and buy this house. So that's what the story's about. It's a very strange story.
Oh, awesome.
So you'll have to read it to hear the whole thing.
And what I didn't mention earlier is that Desha is also a career development facilitator. So she actually coaches women to really find what their passion is and their personal style and their business style and really create a life that they love and success in all they do. So she runs the best possible getaways where she actually does her coaching in exotic locations. So do you have a retreat coming up, Desha?
I do. I do an annual retreat every February in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. And I know that feels like a long way away, but I book it out way in advance so that I can be totally organized and have all the right women. And it's a small retreat in a luxury, beautiful Mexican mansion with a maid and
wow.
jacuzzi. And it's kind of an opportunity to escape and live in this perfect environment, in this perfect place for 6 days and really just not have any responsibilities except to think about how to get into your sweet spot in your life, and if you have a business, how to grow your business, or if you're thinking about starting a business, getting clear on what you want that to be.
Awesome. So you can check out the first chapter of her book down at I'm going to put the link right next to this interview, so you can just click over on that, and I also put a link to Desha's website so you can learn a little bit more about her and her wonderful retreat. Thank you so much, Desha, for being here today. It was a great, really refreshing topic, the importance of having a space that makes you feel good and makes you more productive. Is that something that we always talk about? Is that something that we think about all the time, and your environment can totally affect your moods and your ability to get things done. So thanks so much for sharing. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's been fun.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you got a lot of value out of this. I know that I did. I want you to open up to the possibility of making this new year the greatest opportunity you have had so far to improve your life. This is about breaking out of paradigms. It's about learning the art of living. It's about honoring who you are as a woman as you discover who you are as a mother. It's about taking care of your body, mind, and spirit so that you can better take care of your family and being a shining example, a role model, if you will, for your children so that they can grow up to be healthy, happy, and successful. I promise to continue to bring you educational, empowering, and inspiring content to help you achieve the body that you dream about and the life you are meant to live. Stay tuned for more value-packed interviews during the summit and be sure. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you received a lot of value out of this interview. I know that I did. I want you to open up to the possibility of making this new year the greatest opportunity that you have had so far to improve your life. This is about breaking out of paradigms. It's about learning the art of living. It is about honoring who you are as a woman as you discover who you are as a mother. It is about taking care of your body, mind, and spirit so that you can take better care of your family and be a shining example, a role model for your children so that they can grow up to be healthy, happy, and successful. I promise to continue to bring you educational, empowering, and inspiring content to help you achieve the body that you dream about and the life that you are meant to live. Stay tuned for more value-packed interviews and be sure to check out all the resources on my website, metabolicmama.com. Until next time, wishing you a happy, healthy, hot day. Take care, mamas.